Today, we're diving into one of the strangest and most bizarre military experiments of World War II, the bat bombs. A secret weapon straight out of a mad scientist's playbook, except it, believe it or not, was very real. And it all started with a dentist. Meet Dr. Lytle S. Adams, a Pennsylvania dentist who never quite fit the mold. He was a part-time inventor with a penchant for wild ideas that most would dismiss as pure fantasy. Before his brush with history, Adams had already designed an airmail system where planes could snatch letters out of the air without even landing. But his wildest idea came in January 1942, just weeks after Pearl Harbor, when he pitched a plan to the White House that would make history, or at least confuse a lot of military officials. Legend has it that Dr. Adams met First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt on a plane. Inspired by a trip to Carlsbad Caverns where he had seen millions of bats, he was convinced these little creatures could be the perfect tool for espionage and bombing. Fueled by this inspiration, he wasted no time presenting his idea to the White House. In his letter to President Roosevelt, Adams argued that bats were the lowest form of animal life but were created to become bombs. He insisted that bats needed to play their part in the scheme of free human existence and to frustrate any attempt of those who dare desecrate our way of life. It was the kind of letter that could have been laughed off as the ramblings of a lunatic. But President Roosevelt didn't laugh. After consulting zoologist Donald Griffin, who confirmed that bats could in fact carry small loads, Roosevelt gave the green light. He reportedly said,
"This man is not a nut. It sounds like a perfectly wild idea, but is worth looking into."
And just like that, Project X-Ray was born. Adams' idea was simple: strap tiny incendiary bombs onto bats, release them over Japanese cities, and let them do what bats do best: find dark, hidden places to roost. Since many Japanese buildings were made of wood and paper, these tiny fire starters had the potential to cause massive destruction. Each bomb casing was designed to carry over 1,000 Mexican free-tailed bats, which were hibernating when packed into the containers. The idea was that once released from a plane at high altitudes, the casing would deploy a parachute, allowing the bats to warm up and fly away. As the bats woke up, they would instinctively seek out dark spaces to roost, and hidden within these tiny, unsuspecting creatures were incendiary devices with delayed fuses. The bats, carrying tiny napalm charges, would roost inside buildings, and after a short delay, boom, instant arson squad. Sounds foolproof, right? Well, let's talk about what actually happened. Testing began in 1943 at the Carlsbad Army Airfield Auxiliary Base in New Mexico, and let's just say that things got a little out of control. During a test at the Carlsbad Army Airfield Auxiliary Base in May 1943, some of the bats didn't quite follow the script. Instead of flying toward test buildings, they found a fuel tank on the airfield and roosted underneath it. The result? A massive, unintended inferno that could have burned down the entire testing site. Oops. Despite the setbacks, the military pressed on. The US Navy took over the project and even went as far as building a mock Japanese village to test the bat bombs in a more controlled environment. And guess what? They worked. Observers noted that the bat bombs could start more fires than traditional incendiary bombs, making the bat bomb seem like a viable weapon. But then came a bigger, deadlier idea: the atomic bomb. With the Manhattan Project in full swing, the bat bomb was deemed too slow and unpredictable. By August 1943, Project X-Ray was officially cancelled. By the time it was scrapped, the bat bomb project had burned through $2 million, about $33 million today. And while no enemy targets were ever hit, there were casualties. Over 4,000 bats were sacrificed in the name of scientific warfare. Though the bat bomb never saw combat, it remains one of the most unusual military experiments in history. Today, bats are recognized as essential to our ecosystems, not as tiny kamikaze bombers. Yet, for a brief, bizarre moment, these little creatures could have been America's secret weapon. So what do you think? Was this an ingenious wartime strategy, or was it just completely insane? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and if you loved this deep dive into history's strangest moments, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, keep exploring the past. It's weirder than you think.